Empty chair. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council stretched impossibly wide, a marvel of engineering that housed representatives from over 10,000 civilizations. Crystalline pillars reached upward into a ceiling that mimicked the cosmos itself, stars twinkling in perfect recreation of the galactic core. The chamber hummed with the quiet murmurs of countless species discussing matters of cosmic importance. Ambassador Thora Kileth adjusted her ceremonial robes as she took her seat, representing the Cygni Federation for the first time. Her four eyes scanned the vast amphitheater, taking in the bewildering array of life forms. Some floated in specialized atmosphere chambers, others sat in pools of exotic liquids, and many more occupied traditional seats arranged in concentric circles around the central dais. "Quite the spectacle, isn't it?" remarked Vex, her Arthulian guide. His exoskeleton clicked softly as he gestured toward the center stage. 5 millennia of galactic cooperation. Every spacefaring civilization with sufficient technological advancement has a place here. Thora nodded, still overwhelmed by the diversity and grandeur. But as her eyes continued their survey, they stopped on something peculiar: a single empty seat, positioned prominently near the inner circle. Unlike other vacant positions that appeared temporary, this one seemed deliberately unused. No name marker, no delegation insignia, just a simple chair of ancient design. "What about that one?" Thora asked, pointing to the empty seat. "Has someone not arrived yet?" Vex's antennae stiffened noticeably. That is Earth's seat." "Earth? I'm not familiar with this civilization." "Few are, these days." Vex's voice dropped to a whisper. "It's not discussed openly. The seat remains empty by ancient decree." Before Thora could press further, the council arbiter, a towering Selenian with luminescent skin, called the session to order. The day's proceedings began with the usual ceremonial acknowledgments of each member world. When the roll call reached the empty seat, the arbiter simply paused, bowed silently, and continued. That simple gesture, so deliberate, so reverent, ignited Thora's curiosity like nothing in her long diplomatic career ever had. During the midday recess, Thora sought out the council's archives. As a newly appointed ambassador, she had access to historical records, though she quickly discovered that information about Earth was conspicuously limited. The basic entry merely stated, Earth, Sol II. Status, reserved. Position maintained by Progenitor Protocol 7.113. Further information requires Omega clearance. Progenitor Protocol. Thora had never heard of such a designation. Her people had been spacefaring for nearly 800 years. Yet here was something ancient enough to be tied to the mythical progenitors, the rumored first species to achieve interstellar travel. "You won't find much there," came a gravelly voice behind her. Thora turned to find Kaskrin, the ancient Draconid ambassador whose species had held council membership for over 30 millennia. His scaled face was unreadable, but his eyes, sharp yellow with vertical pupils, studied her with interest. "Ambassador Kaskrin," Thora acknowledged with appropriate deference. "I was simply curious about the empty seat." "They all are, at first." Kaskrin moved closer, his massive form towering over her. Most learn to stop asking. It's considered prudent. Is Earth's absence a matter of intergalactic security? In a manner of speaking. The Draconid hesitated, then made a decision. "I've watched 1,000 species join the council, young one. I've seen civilizations rise and fall. Earth is different." "Different how?" "Come to my chambers after the evening session. Bring no recording devices." That evening, Thora found herself in Kaskrin's private quarters, a Spartan space heated to the desert-like temperatures Draconids preferred. The ancient ambassador activated a privacy field before retrieving a crystalline data cube from a hidden compartment. "What I'm about to share is known only to the eldest members of the council," he began. "Earth isn't absent because they cannot join us. They are absent because they must not." The data cube projected images of a blue-green world, third from an unremarkable yellow star. Sol system. quarantined by Council directive for the past 8,000 years. Thora watched as the projection showed various spacecraft approaching the system, only to vanish or turn back. Failed contact missions. 217 attempts over 5 millennia. Cascarin confirmed. None successful. The last authorized mission was 3,000 years ago. Since then, approach has been forbidden. But why? Are they hostile? Technologically primitive? Cascarin's laugh was like stones grinding together. Primitive? No. The opposite, perhaps. He manipulated the cube, showing a series of energy readings. These were taken from the system's edge. Power signatures unlike anything in our databases, artificial constructs surrounding the entire system. A shell of technology so advanced it borders on the incomprehensible. The images shifted to show grainy footage of bipedal beings, similar in form to several council species but with distinctive features. Humans. Cascarin identified them. Physiologically unremarkable. Yet. He trailed off. Yet what? Yet they've constructed defenses that have repelled or redirected every probe and emissary we've sent. Technology that our best scientists cannot explain. Energy manipulation beyond theoretical limits. Cascarin's eyes narrowed. Some believe they've transcended conventional existence entirely. Thora struggled to process this information. If they're so advanced, why keep their seat? Why acknowledge them at all if contact is impossible? The seat remains by the oldest law of the Council, the progenitor protocol. It states that certain positions must never be filled by another, that certain worlds must always have representation, whether present or not. Cascarin deactivated the cube. Earth's seat remains empty not because they cannot come, but because we fear what might happen if they do. Over the following weeks, Thora became obsessed with the Earth mystery. She used her diplomatic credentials to access increasingly restricted archives, piecing together fragments of information scattered throughout millennia of Council records. She discovered mentions of early observation missions that reported a species of remarkable adaptability and resilience. Later records described alarming technological growth rates, far exceeding the normal developmental curves of other species. Then came reports of strange energy signatures, followed by a series of failed contact attempts. The most disturbing record was the last official Council mission, a delegation of the 7 most advanced civilizations at that time. According to the sole surviving log, their ships had approached Earth's moon when they encountered what was described only as the boundary. 6 ships disappeared instantly. The 7th returned with its crew in a catatonic state, the ship's AI containing only a cryptic message. Not yet. The veil remains necessary. Most intriguing were the temporal anomalies. Council ships that managed to return from Earth's vicinity often experienced significant time distortions, crews aging decades while their mission logs recorded only days. Other ships returned before they had officially departed. The final piece came from a sealed archive requiring Thora to temporarily elevate her security clearance through a diplomatic override. It contained a simple star chart marking Earth's position alongside a series of astronomical coordinates spanning the galaxy. Each marked location corresponded to a region of unusual spatial properties, what scientists called thin places, where the fabric of reality showed signs of weakness. Earth, it seemed, sat at the nexus of these coordinates, like the center of a vast cosmic web. The final notation, written in the ancient script of the progenitors themselves, translated roughly to, "The guardians remain at their post. The door stays closed." Thora made her decision that night. Council directives be damned. She would go to Earth. She would discover what was being guarded and why a seat had been preserved for a species that never took its place in galactic politics. She falsified mission parameters, requisitioned a small exploratory vessel with enhanced sensor capabilities, and plotted a course for the forbidden Sol system. If she succeeded, she would solve a mystery that had perplexed the greatest minds in the galaxy for thousands of years. If she failed, well, she would join a long list of those who had disappeared trying to uncover Earth's secret. As her ship entered hyperspace, Thora took one last look at her collected data on Earth. Among the fragments of information, one phrase from an ancient Draconid philosopher stood out. The silence of Earth speaks louder than the combined voices of the galaxy. In their absence is the greatest presence. She was about to discover just how true those words were. The Guardians of Sol. Thora's ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, well beyond the orbit of the outermost planet. Immediately, her sensors detected the anomalies that previous expeditions had reported, fluctuating energy readings that seemed to ripple through space like waves on water. Remarkable, she whispered, studying the readings. The entire system appeared to be encased in layers of overlapping fields, some physical, others defying conventional analysis. They weren't simply defensive barriers. They were manipulating the fundamental properties of space-time itself. As she cautiously navigated closer, Thora activated her ship's stealth systems, cutting-edge Signy technology that had never failed to conceal her presence before. Yet within moments, her communications array activated autonomously. Unidentified vessel, came a calm voice, speaking in perfect Signy despite her transmitter being inactive. You have entered restricted space. State your identity and purpose. Thora froze. They had detected her instantly through technology that should have made her invisible. More disturbing was how they were speaking her native language without any prior contact. I am Ambassador Thora Clith of the Signy Federation, she responded, deciding that honesty was her only option. I've come seeking knowledge about Earth and its absence from the Galactic Council. Silence followed, stretching uncomfortably long. Then, prepare for guided approach. Deviate from the designated path, and your vessel will be returned to Council space. A navigation pathway appeared on her screens, a precise route through the planetary system. With no real choice, Thora followed it, watching in fascination as her ship passed through the gas giants, then the asteroid belt, and finally approached the fourth planet, a rust-red world showing signs of massive terraforming. Here, her ship slowed automatically, coming into orbit around what her database identified as Mars. Below, she could see sprawling cities under transparent domes, surrounded by regions of transformed landscape where vegetation had taken hold. You will dock at Olympus Station, the voice instructed. An envoy will meet you. As her ship locked into an orbital platform, Thora prepared herself for first contact with a species that had managed to remain isolated despite being known to the galaxy for millennia. Her 4 hearts raced with equal parts excitement and apprehension. The airlock cycled, revealing a surprising sight, a being who appeared remarkably similar to many humanoid council species. He stood upright on 2 legs, had 2 arms, a single head with forward-facing eyes, and was dressed in simple gray attire without insignia or decoration. Ambassador Thora. He greeted her with a slight bow. I am Director Elias Chen. Welcome to Sol System. You appear very conventional, Thora blurted out, immediately regretting her lack of diplomatic tact. Chen smiled. What were you expecting? Beings of pure energy. Gods. Given the level of technology that has kept the entire council at bay for thousands of years, yes, something like that. We find our biological form quite sufficient, Chen replied, gesturing for her to follow him through the station. It's not what we are that matters, but what we do. The station's interior was surprisingly austere, functional rather than impressive. They passed other humans who regarded Thora with curious but not surprised expressions. Clearly, despite the quarantine, they were familiar with alien species. Chen led her to an observation deck overlooking Mars, and beyond it, the inner planets. Earth was visible as a blue jewel against the blackness of space. You've come seeking answers about our absence from the Council, Chen stated. The truth is complex and has been kept secret for good reason. Are you certain you wish to know? I've come too far to turn back now, Thora replied. Chen nodded. What do you know of the progenitors, Ambassador? Only legends. The first spacefaring species, said to have seeded the galaxy with life, before disappearing millions of years ago. Not legends, and they didn't exactly disappear. Chen's expression grew solemn. They evolved beyond what you would recognize as physical existence, but before doing so, they discovered something terrible, something they couldn't defeat but could only contain. Chen activated a holographic display showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Points of light appeared, connected by lines that formed a complex web with Earth at the center. These are what your scientists call thin places, regions where the membrane between dimensions becomes permeable. Gateways, essentially, to what lies beyond. Chen's voice dropped. And what lies beyond wishes to enter our reality. Thora felt a chill. What is beyond? Something ancient, vast, incomprehensible to minds evolved in this universe. The progenitors called them the Void Eaters, entities that consume reality itself. The hologram shifted, showing simulations of space-time being distorted, folded, and torn apart. The progenitors found they couldn't destroy these entities, so they created a system of barriers, anchors in physical reality that would maintain the separation between dimensions. Each anchor requires conscious minds to maintain it, to adapt it as the universe evolves. Understanding dawned on Thora. Earth is such an anchor. The primary one, Chen confirmed. Humans didn't evolve by accident. We were designed. The progenitors reshaped our ancestors, encoded certain capabilities into our genetic structure, and then guided our evolution from afar. You're saying humans were created to be guardians, caretakers of reality's boundaries. Yes, our technological development has been focused on one purpose: maintaining and strengthening the barriers. What appears to be a planetary defense system is actually an immense dimensional stabilizer. Chen gestured to Earth. Every human mind on that planet is unconsciously connected to the barrier network. Our collective consciousness forms a living firewall against cosmic entropy. It's why we cannot leave en masse, why we maintain our isolation. Thora struggled to process the implications, but the seat at the council was established by those few progenitors who chose to remain in physical form to guide the early council. They knew what we were, what we would become. The seat remains empty because our place is here, at the center of the web, not in the chambers of galactic politics. All this time, Thora whispered, the council believed Earth was quarantined to protect the galaxy from you. When in fact, the galaxy is protected by us. Chen's eyes reflected the light of the distant Earth. We are the silent guardians, and our vigil cannot end. In the days that followed, Thora was shown the true nature of human civilization. Their technology wasn't focused on expansion or dominance, but on their singular purpose: maintaining the barriers between dimensions. She witnessed vast arrays that manipulated quantum fields, structures that existed partially outside normal spacetime, and the specialized education that trained each generation of humans to unconsciously contribute to the great network. Most humbling was the Wall of Sacrifice, a memorial stretching kilometers, inscribed with names of those who had given their lives when the barriers weakened. Millions of names, spanning thousands of years. There have been breaches, Chen explained solemnly. Times when the entities found weaknesses in our defenses. The losses were substantial. Why keep this secret? Thora finally asked. Why not tell the council the truth? Knowledge of what lies beyond the barriers would cause panic throughout the galaxy. More dangerously, there would be those who might seek to use the thin places to harness the power of the void entities for their own purposes. Chen shook his head. Isolation protects both humanity and the galaxy. When it came time for Thora to depart, she was brought before a council of human leaders. Their decision was unanimous. She would be allowed to return to the Galactic Council with limited knowledge of Earth's true purpose, enough to ensure the quarantine remained respected without revealing the full threat. We've existed in isolation for millennia, the human chancellor told her. But perhaps it's time for a single voice to speak for us in the greater galaxy. Someone who understands our burden but can move freely among the stars. They offered Thora an unprecedented role. Earth's ambassador at large, the first alien authorized to represent human interests to the Council. She would not reveal the nature of the void entities, but would work to shift the perception of Earth from a mysterious threat to a necessary guardian. As her ship prepared to return to Council space, Chen presented her with a small device. "A quantum-entangled communicator," he explained. "It will allow you to contact us instantaneously, regardless of distance, without being detectable by Council technology." Thora hesitated before asking her final question. "The entities, have you ever communicated with them? Do they have comprehensible motives?" Chen's expression darkened. "They are to us what we would be to single-celled organisms, operating on principles beyond our comprehension. Their only recognizable desire is consumption, expansion. They do not negotiate, do not compromise. They simply hunger." When Thora returned to the Council, her report caused an uproar. The revelation that Earth was not absent by choice, but by necessity, the humans served as guardians rather than threats, challenged millennia of assumptions. Many refused to believe her. Others demanded more information that she was not at liberty to share. But a few, the oldest members like Kaskrin, recognized the ring of truth in her words. At the next formal session, Thora approached the empty seat that had intrigued her those many months ago. With ceremonial gravity, she placed upon it a simple token Chen had given her, a small blue-green sphere representing Earth. "The seat remains empty," she announced to the assembled representatives, "not because Earth refuses to join us, but because they serve the galaxy in ways we cannot fully comprehend. Their absence is their greatest contribution to our collective welfare." From that day forward, Thora served as the bridge between two worlds, the silent guardian planet and the galaxy it protected without recognition or thanks. Earth's seat remained empty, but no longer forgotten or feared. Instead, it became a symbol of the unseen sacrifices made to ensure the galaxy's continued existence. And whenever new species joined the Council and wondered about the empty seat with its small blue-green marker, they were told a simple truth: some guard our borders, others guard our laws. Earth guards reality itself.